Listening, fill in the blanks.
Let's start.
In a conventional wheel set, both wheels are interlocked and connected with a fixed axle, preventing any relative rotation between them. When a train enters a curve or a divergent route at a junction, it must slow down to ensure the wheels are guided over the track and to prevent unwanted vibration of the wheels. Railway researchers are now developing independently rotating wheels to include a separate actuation mechanism that can help steer the wheel sets on the curved route.
Antibiotic resistance is a growing problem seen in many different types of bacteria. As treatment options continue to dwindle, it has been recognized as a global threat, one that has grown worse not only because of a rise in resistance but also due to the decrease in both the discovery and production of new drugs. Analysts have estimated that if no new antibiotics or alternative treatment strategies are found by 2050, 10 million people a year will die from antibiotic-resistant infections. This will be more deaths than from any other single cause, including cancer and diabetes.
In ancient times, the type of honey used to treat a person often depended on their geographical location and the type of ailment. Manuka, for example, was used as a topical ointment for wounds and ulcers by the Maori people. Much of the evidence for the effectiveness of the honey treatment was anecdotal, however, with no real research to rely on. These days, standardized sterile medical-grade Manuka honey is available and there is considerable evidence demonstrating its antibacterial effect against a wide range of infections. Furthermore, we now have explanations for the different process by which this particular honey can kill both Staphylococcus aureus and Pseudomonas aeruginosa.
While the Japanese have made huge strides in solving some of the engineering problems of human kinetics and bipedal movements, for the past 10 years scientists at MIT's former Artificial Intelligence Lab, recently renamed the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, CSAL, have been making robots that can behave like humans and interact with humans. One of MIT's robots, Kismet, is an anthropomorphic head and has 2 eyes, complete with eyelids, ears, a mouth, and eyebrows. It has several facial expressions, including happy, sad, frightened and disgusted. Human interlocutors are able to read some of the robot's facial expressions, and often change their behavior towards the machine as a result, for example, playing with it when it appears sad. Kismet is now in MIT's museum, but the ideas developed here continue to be explored in new robots.
Emotional stability is a crucial trait for any astronaut to have, but the psychological requirements are much more comprehensive than simply controlling one's emotions. An ability to demonstrate good reasoning, high levels of concentration and memory, spatial orientation, especially crucial when there is no up or down in space, and manual dexterity are also important factors. With longer-term flights to the ISS and eventually Mars planned, it will be increasingly important for astronauts to be able to work well as a member of a team, be flexible in their approach to resolving problems, and have empathy for their fellow crew. Taking time to be inspired by new things is good for our health. Studies show that people who read books live longer, and bilingual people have better cognitive health. Pursuing new knowledge or learning new skills is known to promote well-being and memory function. Activities like attending an art or music class are associated with enhanced brain health, as they improve the communication between different brain regions. They can also improve psychological resilience, meaning that they can improve people's ability to cope better and persevere through stressful or challenging situations.
We think of museums as trustees of a nation's cultural capital. Curators choose and preserve artifacts for the benefit of future generations. They shape lasting impressions of communities and their aesthetic values and creativity. These are weighty responsibilities, and public museums have often been judged harshly for the selective legacies crafted by their key decision-makers. Since the mid-1980s, the feminist activist Guerrilla Girls have brought into focus significant gender and ethnic biases in museums around the world through a series of high-profile interventions, poster campaigns, and exhibitions.
Once they figured put the taster mechanism, scientists began to think of ways to interfere with it. They tried AMP, an organic compound found in breast milk and other substances, which is created. Acyls break down food. AMP has no bitterness of its own. But when put it in foods, Margolsky and his colleagues discovered, it attaches to bitter taste receptors. As effective as it is, AMP may not be able to dampen every type PF bitter taste, because it probably doesn't attach to all 30 bitter taste receptors. So Lingwagen has scaled up the hunt for other bitter blockers with a technology called high-throughput screening. Researchers start by coaxing cells in culture to activate bitter taste receptors. Then candidate substances, culled from chemical compound libraries, are dropped onto the receptors, and scientists look for evidence of a reaction.
Tiny houses are homes, usually 40 square meters or less. A popular construction style is to build them on a trailer base. This allows them to be classified as road towable vehicles and avoids many of the complications of building a permanent home with foundations. Others are log cabin style or shed homes, and some are even built underground. They are much cheaper than traditional housing. The average tiny house price tends to be around £35,000, and result in much cheaper living costs. This can free up time from the obligation to work to pay rent or a mortgage.
The UK has the longest average working hours in Europe, and a significant proportion of earnings go towards housing costs. My participants have described tiny houses as a way to reduce living costs in such a way that they can either work much less, or work in more fulfilling jobs for a lower salary. People have expressed to me how they found it strange that they used to work 40 hours per week to pay for a home that were seldom in. People I have spoken to who build tiny homes also cite a desire for simplicity and a move away from a life focused on spending and buying. Some have described the work-to-spend attitude of society as unfulfilling and harmful.
Like, share, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further updates.